Hi, my name is Amber Dlugash, and I teach a dual credit composition class at Bolivar High School. And right before break, we did a lesson that was really inspired by a conglomeration of different kind of thought leaders. Um, Brene Brown, Glennon Doyle, Hillary McBride, I would say those were kind of the three main thinkers behind the lesson. We talked about shields, and I have referenced this lesson so many times in the last 2 weeks that I thought it might be beneficial to create a video, kind of walk you through what that lesson was, and maybe it can become some common language in your own households because it really helps us figure out why we do the things that we do in times where we face the discomfort of uncertainty. So I firmly believe that deep down inside of each one of us, we actually believe we have some value. Because when we encounter uncertainty or moments in life where we feel like we are lacking control, it is very, very natural for us to have some very painful emotions that come with that. Fear, sadness, full on grief, confusion, embarrassment, anxiety, anger, all of those different emotions that are uncomfortable to experience flare up in times of uncertainty or where we have little control. I believe we believe deep down that we have value because it is our natural inclination to shield against those uncomfortable emotions. We almost treat them like an attacker coming in, and we shield up to protect ourselves from them. And you don't protect things that aren't worth protecting. But I also believe that maybe deep down, we just don't think we're strong enough to deal with those really hard emotions, because the emotions in and of themselves aren't necessarily bad. They point us to some things. However, they are difficult, and sometimes we don't have the capacity to sit in them. And so we don't get the privilege of following where those emotions might lead us or working through them. And so we need those shields to kind of hide behind and be protected behind for a time. So I don't believe that any of us wake up in the morning and say, man, today I just want to feel embarrassed and anxious all day long, or I just want to feel the full weight of grief. That's not our typical tendency. And so these are uncomfortable emotions. They're hard things to grapple with, and they are exponentially off the charts in this time right now. So what do? We put up shields to protect ourselves from those incoming, what we perceive as threats, which are those difficult emotions. And we brainstormed a lot in our class. And so here were some of the things that we thought of. We said humor is a big one. We tell jokes, we make light of a situation, trying to make ourselves feel better. Avoidance, denial, that is a huge one. We will use entertainment or fun, sleeping, food, medication, drugs, alcohol, all sorts of things. Endless scrolling, anything that kind of helps us numb out and go into that denial state where we just avoid the thing. It doesn't exist. I don't need to deal with it. So whatever the thing is that's causing us that uncertainty, if we can avoid or numb from that thing, then we don't have to feel those uncomfortable emotions. Also, anything that can give us temporary control. Okay, so we'll search for temporary control. That is a shield we can put up. For me, that looks like fact finding. So we watch lots of YouTube videos. We Google lots of how-tos, lots of what ifs, lots of discussion boards with questions and answers, statistics, things that if we can just wrap our minds around a thing, maybe then the uncomfortable emotion will go away. Another way to grasp for temporary control is to turn off any dissenting voices. So when you hear a perspective or a story that goes against what you feel to be true, that can feel very threatening in those times of lacking control. So we want to shut down those voices as much as possible. Which leads us to our next one, blaming. If we can blame the source of where the problem lies, then maybe those discomforting feelings will go away. So this right now, I think, looks like a lot of really, really hot, fiery partisan debates. So the crazy liberals think this, and those crazy conservatives think this, and we'll just keep blaming back and forth. But really, that's just a shield. It's not really accomplishing anything. It's I believe, us trying to avoid discomfort by doing that. Pointing fingers, trying to figure out, well, I can't believe that this person is doing this, or I can't believe this person said this. This even happens in our households, especially when we're all locked up together, which is why this lesson can be really helpful right now. The things I asked my students was to, when you look at that list, we actually drew out physical shields. We put all of the things, those uncomfortable emotions on the outside. And then on the inside, I asked, will you write the ones that are true for you? So for me, I deal with things, it kind of depends on the situation. In terms of COVID-19, I'm really in the fact finding and avoidance, which is kind of interesting because they don't really go hand in hand. And I also notice that I tend to go to blaming when I'm scrolling through social media in my numbing and avoidance state. So it can create some problems. Okay, so figure out what are the ones that you are prone to, and maybe in all situations, or maybe it's specific to different situations. And then ask yourself, what good comes from that? How is it helpful for you and for those who are around you? Shields protect something that's valuable. We need a shield. Even in warfare, we need that. I'm not saying that we should just throw all of the shields out the window. There are elements to these that are very helpful. So pause and think about, how does this benefit you? What is it offering you? Take some time to really think through that. Some things my students said is it gives me time to breathe. It gives me a break from what's going on. It allows me to calm down. It allows me to think through things, to have a space where it feels less overwhelming for a little bit of time. It also protects those around me so I don't blow up when the emotions are really hot. And so think about, how does the shield help you and those who you are around? But then also think that over time, so when you're in warfare, you can't have your shield up all of the time. It creates problems for the greater good of a battle. And so over time, what happens? What are some of the negative impacts for you and for other people? One of the problems, and this comes straight from Brene Brown, is that we as humans desire at our core level to be seen and to be valued for who we are. And if we hide behind a shield, so if we're constantly using humor, or if we're always avoiding people and topics, if we are blaming consistently, we are hiding behind a shield and we cannot be seen. We cannot then be valued for who we actually are. And so we are missing out on kind of one of our core human needs. So that's a detriment for all humans when we hold up a shield for too long. I can no longer see you and you can no longer see me. But for you specifically, what are the problems? How is your shield harmful for you and for maybe those who you are around? So I know this is a little bit longer video. In the greater picture of things, it took us about 75 minutes to get through this whole lesson in class. So I hope that that's helpful. One of the ways that I use it is to say, I'm using a shield right now. I can just really own it now with people who I love and who are around me in life. And once that becomes common language, you can kind of talk about it with one another and say, hey, I see that you're using a shield, but remember that I can't see you. And so when you're ready and you feel safe to lower your shield, I would love to meet you in this moment. So that's just a little bit from me. Bolivar High School wishes you all well, stay safe, stay inside, and wash your hands.